posted to the YouTube page I have set up. So if you miss a class or if you just need a refresher, please go on and look at that. I'm also going to continue to post some more practice problems on the Google Classroom for you to work on outside of school. Most of them in the form of a quizzes game. Those games are actually really good because I get a great report of the questions that you had the most trouble with, so I can adjust the lessons moving forward based on that. We are going to find the distance here between this point P and this point Q. Now, what's the problem with just trying to find the distance from here to here? Can I do that without a ruler?
No.
No, I need to figure something else out. So I can actually use the Pythagorean theorem. Remind me, what is the formula or the equation for the Pythagorean theorem?
A squared plus B squared equals C squared.
A squared, you can write this down, plus B squared equals C squared. It'd be a great idea to have this example in your book because when you work on finding distance, this is a good example to look back to. So we have the equation for the Pythagorean theorem. How do we know that this triangle is a right triangle? Right by the R, what do we have? Yeah, we have a right angle. And as if you can notice here, if we have graph paper, which this represents graph paper, what do all of these coordinates, all of these boxes on the graph paper create? Yeah, we have right triangles created on the graph paper. So if we have a right triangle, what do we know will work if it's a right triangle? Yeah, the Pythagorean theorem will work if we're dealing with a right triangle, which we've determined here that we are. So now we need to figure out, if I have a right triangle, I know the Pythagorean theorem will work, but what do I need? I need any two sides. Right? Based on this, what two sides could I find? Yeah, I can find A and B. Notice that because I'm using the graph paper, I already have the units of that graph paper represented. What is the distance from point P to point R? 3. And if I look here on the graph paper, I have 1 unit, 2 units, 3 units. Okay, so my length here is 3. And how about from R to Q, or Q to R? 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So my length there is 4. So now, how could I represent? Some of you might already know the value because of something that we've done before. But if I had to use the Pythagorean theorem, again, A squared plus B squared equals C squared. What can I plug in? What do I know?
You know A is 3.
I know A is 3.
And B is 4.
And I know B is 4. Okay. Really important, when we're using the Pythagorean theorem, the first thing we have to identify is which two sides I'm given. If I was given C, then I'd be doing the calculation a little different. Here I know that I'm given A and B because the legs of the triangle, A and B, are creating the right angle. So if you need to draw that right angle to see which sides you are given, do that. How can I calculate to find C? Well, now we'll calculate. We already did that. Let me continue my Pythagorean theorem here, what we had on the other side, because we are going to determine the distance between P and Q right now. 3 squared is what?
9.
9, good. Plus 4 squared, which is 16. And that equals what? 25. Is my answer 25?
No.
No. What do I have to do to find C? Find the square root of 25, and my answer would be 5. Okay, so going back up here, the answer for this would be 5. I have 5 for the one. Why can't I find the distance between P and Q by counting or by just measuring? What's the problem here? Like, why can't I say this is like 1, that's like 2, that's like 3, that's like 4? Like, why can't I do that? Why can't I do that? Okay, because it's on an angle. So, and what does the angle tell us? What is the angle preventing me from being able to do? Count.
It's kind of like squares and have parts of them show up and have a full unit.
Yeah, it's not as, I can't clearly see a full unit. When we had done an activity a couple of days back. Remember that like weird shape where you created with the lesson when we were creating the triangle? You want it so badly to count. And a lot of you were like, well, draw the line and then like move it. And we can like measure it. Right? That doesn't always, you don't always have the ability to measure it, but if you have a right angle, that could represent your hypotenuse. What is the giveaway here? Like, what is the hint that you know, no matter what, for this, you could use the Pythagorean theorem? The fact that it's a right angle. Good. If you are asked to create a triangle to represent a situation, the triangle that you create needs to be what kind of triangle? A right triangle. Very good. Okay, so the Pythagorean theorem gives us the tools to find the distance between any 2 points. If we know the distance, or I should say if we know the coordinates, I can figure out the distance between them. Okay? So if we wanted to find the distance between S and T, first, what would I need to do? How can I find the distance between this point and this point? For those of you who did the bird and dog test yesterday, this is very similar to that. How would I find the distance between S and T? Can I just count? No.
Up. 1, 2.
What should I do first?
Make a right triangle.
I want to create a right triangle, and how can I do that?
You go up and then you go right there and wait till
You go this way. What else could you have done?
go the other way.
I could have actually created a right triangle here, if I wanted. By doing that, do I now know 2 of the sides? Yeah. Yeah, I know 2 of them. If I wanted to use this black triangle, actually, let me see if it's on the next slide. Oh, it is. Yeah.
Oh, the way.
So I can now find the distance. This is just one of the triangles. Your other option would have been to go down and over if you wanted. But if this was my triangle, how would I find the lengths of the 2 sides? You said I could figure out 2 of them. What 2 sides do I know? I can figure out A. A is what?
6.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Good. And what's B?
1, 2, 3,
8. 8. Good. So then how would I find C? Who wants to walk me through just the calculation?
6 squared.
Good. Good. What's 6 squared? 36. And I'm curious, do you feel like you're getting more comfortable with some of these smaller numbers squared because you're seeing them a lot?
Yeah.
Some of you aren't even calculating. You're like, oh, I remember that 6 times 6 is 36. How about 8 squared?
6.
And what are those together?
100.
They equal 100, which means what does C have to be?
10.
C would have to be 10 squared. That is another Pythagorean triple. I heard you say that.
I said it.
If we know that 3, 4, and 5 are Pythagorean triple, if I multiply everything by 2, 6, 8, and 10 would also be a Pythagorean triple. Worst case scenario, you could just do the calculation. You'll have the calculators for Pythagorean theorem questions. Okay, so for your DOL today, before we get into some practice, and actually let me pause this because I have to give out your calculators and I have to give out your part questions here.